Hello, this is Jakki Mohr, and our lecture for this video will be on technology roadmaps for emerging technology. Let's dive right in. Before we apply technology roadmaps to technology specifically, let's just think what we mean by a roadmap. We recognize it as a navigational tool, that the map provides both a starting point and an endpoint, as well as the route to get to the destination. The roadmap typically offers milestones, including time and distance. And if the anticipated route gets interrupted, it does offer an opportunity for rerouting. So let's apply what we know to road mapping in general to technology road mapping. Technology road mapping essentially offers a way for a company to develop a strategy for its technology in order to remain competitive in the marketplace. Technology road mapping can be used either for a company who is selling emerging technology and they need a roadmap for their own internal new product development process, or technology roadmaps can also be used for a company's internal roadmap for the technologies it will use in its own operations and processes. Both of these require a strategy process, and we'll be going through that process today. The technology roadmap then serves as a commitment for the technology and the investments necessary for the company to accomplish that technology roadmap. And those investments will allocate resources across a variety of projects, as you'll come to see. The strategic planning process is critically important to developing a good roadmap. And this planning process should help a company to anticipate technology trends in the next 1 to 5 year timeframe for internal development. Certainly, some technologies will take a longer time frame, and that's why technology roadmaps are a flexible blueprint that must be updated on a regular basis. Stated in slightly different terms, the technology roadmap identifies the technologies the company may need that will include both its incremental upgrades to existing product strategies, as well as breakthrough or radical product development. And that will require both near-term and long-term perspectives. Now, for companies that offer technology in the marketplace, vendors, for example, large vendors would be IBM or Facebook, but small startups also need a technology roadmap. And the technology roadmap is used for them to develop their product and service offerings in the marketplace. For companies that are looking at technology roadmaps for their own internal use, these would be developed by CIOs or the IT managers so that they have a guide to the investments that they require in order to keep their business operations current and competitive. Simply looking up technology road mapping processes on the internet will provide a wealth of resources and steps, and I'll be using a 4-step model today. The steps in technology road mapping that I'll be using include technology identification, how we then come to identify what are the additions that we require to have a good technology strategy for the future, how we explore and experiment around those technologies to hone in our roadmap, and then how we implement the actual solution and evaluate it based on its success. Technology identification at the outset is the step that's equivalent to dropping a pin when you're navigating. What is our starting point? We can't develop a map without knowing where we're starting from. And for technology purposes, this requires that a firm take an exhaustive inventory of its existing technology. For example, what are our current product offerings in the market? What are the current process technologies that we use? What is our business model approach in case we want to innovate around business model innovation? And this firm's existing technology should be as thorough as possible in terms of the inventorying that is done. The second step then is equivalent in a mapping process to entering the desired destination. What are the technology additions that we require in our portfolio in order to remain competitive? And this requires a very good SWOT analysis in terms of what emerging trends are going to affect my business, both in the near term and in the long term. This should include identifying areas of weakness in our existing technology portfolio that helps us assess what are we missing and what technologies do we need to compete effectively, particularly if we're going to avoid being Amazoned. From my perspective, this step is extremely difficult, and it's very much akin to looking in a crystal ball to figure out what do you need and where are you going. This is oftentimes addressed through a retreat of executives that is facilitated by somebody who understands the emerging technology landscape. I mentioned the role of a SWOT analysis. Definitely, thought leaders in technology play a key role in guiding a company, and they have to scan very broadly and not myopically. Customer trends can be an important data point, but certainly customers can be limited in how they're using emerging technologies. So it shouldn't be the only data point that companies use in terms of how do you figure out where you want your technology destination in terms of what technology should you be investing in. Step 3 is an exploration and experimentation step. Right now, we see a lot of companies experimenting with the metaverse. McKinsey has a great article on how marketing executives are using an explore and experiment technique in terms of wondering what should their marketing strategy be with respect to the metaverse. And for more detail on the exploration and experimentation, I will refer you to the strategy of emerging tech that had a 4-step process. And finally, regarding implementation and evaluation, this is also covered in the steps in technology strategy in terms of how you manage your organizational culture and the actual frontline users who will either be selling the technology or using the technology in your strategy process. This step of evaluation is critically important because companies all too often use their own internal assessment of how well are we doing relative to what we've done in the past. And I had mentioned previously in a prior recording that this can be akin to navel gazing. And so it's really important in this performance assessment of technology road mapping is not only to look at your own internal objectives about what you're hoping to achieve, but to really compare your own company's performance to benchmarks that are best-in-class leaders, both within your own industry as well as other industries. And you should be comparing your own performance not to what you did last year or the year before, but to what is happening in your industry. For example, if your company is missing important opportunities that other companies are able to leverage, diagnose what's going on in your own internal environment that has caused you to miss those opportunities. And once you identify the cause of that, then work to remedy that. Also, the question is whether you convert your technology investments into long-term competitive advantage and capabilities. And this helps you realize that performance is not just how you're doing now relative to how you were doing last year, say, but how you're doing relative to the competitive situation in your industry. This is a brief video. It was meant to orient you to this important process of technology road mapping. And again, there are so many resources available on how to do this from a product management perspective or an IT management perspective. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you would like additional knowledge or resources. Thank you very much.